Hello, this is Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech number 49, looking at the first previews that we have so far of Dragon's Maze. We know what the symbol looks like for Dragon's Maze. They put a lot of creativity into this one. They basically threw the Return to Ravnica and the Gatecrash symbol together. I'm not exactly sure what this is, if this is supposed to be a temple or a crown, but if you know, please add it to the comments. I'd love to know what the symbol actually is. The pre-release looks extremely interesting. Instead of having 5 guilds you can sign up for, you will have 10 guilds that you can sign up for. So there'll be a significant amount of variety in the type of decks that are built because all 10 guilds are in Dragon's Maze. Each guild pack that you get will have a complementary guild that goes with it. So another guild that adds a third color to it. The pre-release card is not going to be playable in the tournament. The pre-release card is Maze's End, and I'm going to talk about that a lot more. The other interesting thing that they're doing is they have achievements for guilds. They're basically having all the people who are playing your guild work together in some way to complete a Dragon's Maze. This is kind of a community fun event. Kind of divided over this. I definitely like individual achievements. I don't like having to rely on my other guild members to do things for me to succeed. I'd rather get points for beating people down, but I understand that they're trying to build a collaborative experience, and I'll give it a try. I'll also try to recruit the best players into my guild. Another really exciting announcement, which I'm sure most of you have heard about, is that all of the lands are going to be in the Dragon's Maze set. Not just the guild gates, but all of the shocks. The guild gates may end up getting new artwork, but the shocks themselves from the last 2 sets are going to be reprinted in the land spot. Yes, you heard me correctly, in the land spot. The spot that would normally have basic land will have guild gates, will have an opportunity for all 10 of the shocks, and we'll have an opportunity for that mythic land, Dragon's Maze. This means that those individuals that are hoarding these cards right now may want to get rid of them pretty quickly, because at least short term, the price of the shocks is going to drop. It sounds like 1 in 22 packs is going to have one of the rare shock lands, but still, that's about 1.5 per box instead of the right about 3 per box you've been seeing in the earlier sets. This will mean that there'll be a lot more available for play in the environment, and if Dragon's Maze is a very solid set, we can see the price of these shocks come down a bit, which is pretty amazing that they're already as high as they are, given that RTR and Gatecrash have to be 2 of the largest printed sets we've seen so far. Now, let's take a look at the preview card that we just got this last weekend, Maze's End, and let's compare it to the old card, Thawing Glaciers. Thawing Glaciers was a beating, was an incredibly powerful card. This was a card that worked extremely well with Brainstorm. It was one of the first ways that you could put cards back on top of your deck and then shuffle them in. Now, Maze's End does not have that same ability because Brainstorm is not in the environment, Ponder is not in the environment, so it's a little bit weaker in the current meta. The other thing is it's significantly slower than Thawing Glaciers. Maze's End takes 3 mana to use instead of just 1, but it does have the ability to produce mana, and this producing mana is very important. If you're playing a standard deck where turn 1 you do not have a drop, which I think may not be a good idea currently, or at least not in the aggro environment, this means that on turn 2 and turn 3, you're able to actually use this for mana. So in some ways, Maze's End is faster than Thawing Glaciers. In other ways, it is significantly weaker because it takes 3 mana to use the ability. Another interesting point about this is that Maze's End returns to your hand right away. Thawing Glaciers doesn't return to your hand till end of turn. This is significantly different because Maze's End could then be replaced back into play. It chains a little bit better, and it doesn't give you issues with having too many cards in hand the way that Thawing Glaciers occasionally did. So overall, I actually like Maze's End. I was a bit critical on it originally, but I'm warming up to it significantly, especially in control strategies where you can afford to put out a tapped land turn one, i.e. those strategies that use Supreme Verdict and have room for a colorless mana and a little bit of a slower start. Finally, this card is going to be amazing in EDH. I originally thought that it was just a really slow rapid growth, but if you play long, grindy games, Maze's End is going to give you a slow but steady advantage over the long game. One big thing about this set is it's going to be extremely confusing to new players because you're going to have all of the different guild mechanics out there. And although they're not retooling Cypher, they did say that they're going to take up the power level on Cypher a little bit for this set. Cypher was thoroughly depressing to me. As a huge Demir player, I wanted Cypher to be one of the stronger mechanics, and it appears to be the weakest mechanic right now. But there's a big opportunity here in Dragon's Maze to up the power level of Cypher and put it on par with some of these other abilities. I really look forward to playing these, and it's going to give an interesting feel to Limited because this gives us so many different mechanics to deal with. Knowing the cards and knowing the sets is going to matter a lot. We also have a gift to EDH players. There are 10 new legendary creatures, one for each guild. It's like they made this set specifically for EDH. What can we do to make people who are building EDH decks happy? We'll give them 10 new commanders, and instead of making them mythic, we're going to make them rare. So far we've only seen one of them, but if you want to play Gruul, this is an incredible card for EDH. Yes, it will bring some hate. 6/6 for 6 isn't that great, but Vigilance is a perfect EDH ability. Reach is a very strong EDH ability. 6 damage to players for casting non-creature spells is broken in EDH, or at least very, very strong. This stops combo decks right away and makes it to where people have to put creature removal in. They can't just sit there and play 4 or 5 or 6 cards on their turn as they slowly build their board state. They must deal with this creature early, and if he's your commander, they must deal with him again and again. I really like the design on this card, and I'm strongly considering him as the new commander of my Gruul deck. My Gruul deck's been sitting there with a 2 casting cost mana elf as the commander, and it just doesn't feel right for a super aggressive deck. Thanks, this has been Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech, looking at the first of what will be many previews of the upcoming set Dragon's Maze. Also wanted to point out that we're at video number 49. Video number 50 has a big announcement of a new series that I'm going to be running over the next few months. Thanks for watching. Greatly appreciate all the comments. Also, if there's any topics that you'd like to see, please leave them in the comments and subscribe. Thanks.
In a dark time, when hope was bleak, there lived a young girl whose only escape was in a
the Dragon's Maze.